April 27th, and this Carroll City Council meeting will come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the roll call show all council members are present. And first up is the consent agenda, which includes the approval of the minutes of the April 13th meeting, approval of bills and claims, and a number of licenses and permits, including a new Class C beer permit with Sunday sales for Sparky's One Stop East Side Shell, renewal of Class B beer permit, including wine coolers with Sunday sales and outdoor service for Carroll County Softball Association, renewal of Class E liquor license with carryout beer and carryout wine, including native wine and Sunday sales for Walgreens store number 10770, renewal of Class E liquor license with carryout beer and carryout wine, including native wine and Sunday sales for Hy-Vee, renewal of Class C beer permit with Sunday sales, native wine permit at Reiling 71 South, and a cigarette permit for Sparky's One Stop East Side Shell. The consent agenda also includes the appointment of Kara Greteman to the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Advisory Board to a 3-year term to expire 5/31/18, and the City of Carroll's 25th Tree City USA Award, in which I will also be signing the following proclamation. Iowa's trees are a significant attraction to early settlers because of their multiple benefits and beautiful environment they provide. And trees are an increasingly vital resource to Iowans, enriching our lives by purifying our air and water, helping to conserve our soil and energy, creating jobs through our forest products industry, serving us with shade for our recreation, providing our wildlife with food and shelter, and making our communities a more pleasant place to live and work. And with the cooperation of all Iowans, the benefits of trees can be passed on to future generations through tree planting and conservation of these renewable resources. And each year on Arbor Day, the people of Iowa pay special attention to the benefits of our trees and dedicate themselves to the planting and management of Iowa's forest resources. So I, Adam P. Schweers, Mayor of Carroll, do hereby proclaim May 1st as Arbor Day in Carroll, Iowa, and urge citizens to participate in tree planting programs that will ensure a greener Carroll and a greener Iowa, and to nurture, protect, and wisely use Iowans' natural wonder of trees. With all of that, I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Tate?
Yeah.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Potts?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Do I have any oral requests or communication from members in the audience on matters that are not already on the agenda?
Got one question. We had this Arbor Tree or Arbor Day. What did we ever do with the $50,000 from last year for ash trees that we were going to replace or start a nursery? Did we do that?
We didn't spend any money. It's been carried over into the new budget until the ash borer problem is in Carroll County. I don't know at what point we'll start removing trees once we know no more.
Okay. I thought we had talked that we were going to start the nursery though to get them going big, so that when they did happen, we had trees of some size to go in.
Okay.
But
I don't know if we ever decided that. I know we talked about it, but I don't know if it was decided.
I thought we discussed that that's how we wanted to move forward with it, because it was just $50,000 just sitting there that we might as well put it to use and have, because we have nurseries around.
Yeah.
Just a question. The other part of the question I had was, I believe the Sioux City got substantial grant for planting ash trees. Have we applied for any of those?
No,
grants?
not aware of that.
Can we?
We sure could. I will do some more research.
I think it was Sioux City.
Okay.
It was like well over $150,000. Pretty good help.
Okay.
Well, and Mid-American has a tree, also a tree program and they have mentioned it to us, and I don't think we've ever taken advantage of it. They've encouraged us to, so they're, you know, that would mean we
Wasn't
could
that for
save the
tree
money.
planting, I think?
Yeah, yeah, but they, yeah, it's worth looking into.
Yeah, Mid-American has the, I believe 8 to 10 foot trees are now also available to citizens for $30. For any citizen who wants to plant a tree can apply for that. They've got a window every year that around this time that encourages that, so people can take advantage of that as well.
Yeah, it's at their website.
Yep.
All right. Then we are on to ordinances and the Walnut Street parking restrictions, and Chief Kaler.
Thank you. This is the second reading of this ordinance. I should make note, the paragraph right above the recommendation says 4th Street. It should say 5th Street, and that's what the ordinance says, is 5th Street. My typist apparently missed that, which would be me, by the way. But since we had our first reading of this ordinance at our last meeting, I have had no additional comments for or against. As I mentioned at our last meeting, I did send letters out to the 3 houses that are located at the south end of this block, as well as to the Casey's store. The only reply that I received was extremely favorable and said that they were glad that something was being done. Other than that particular comment, I've had no other comments pro or con. So I guess I would recommend, unless the council has received something, that we go ahead and waive the second and third reading and approve the ordinance.
Okay.
So moved. Second.
This is to waive the second and the third.
Yes.
Okay. Seaman?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Cobb?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Then we'll need a motion to approve the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Cobb?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
All right, thank you very much. Now we are on to resolutions and the fiscal year 2016 health insurance renewal. And tonight we welcome Debbie Dean with Benefit Source to the meeting. And Laura, did you want to cue this up, or was Debbie going to take it right from the get-go?
I'll let Debbie take it right from the get-go.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as Laura is handing this out, let me just make a few overall comments, and that would be that we are favoring another good health insurance, if you can use those 2 words together, good health insurance renewal for the 2015-16 plan year. So as it relates to the plan that we purchased from Wellmark, as a reminder, last year we increased the deductible of our Blue Access plan from $2,000 single deductible, 4,000 family, to a $3,000 single deductible, 6,000 family. And we did this knowing that we would increase the potential for the partial self-funded claim expense that the city of Carroll takes on each year. That said, our increase this year for the Blue Access plan is 1.43%. That is the premium increase. And we have estimated, and understand that we estimate as conservatively and as accurately as we can with regard to the partial self-funded claim expenditure. And we've estimated that this year we should reserve just under $120,000 for potential claim expense, which puts our expected total cost just over $570,000. Now, in the event that we spend all of that health reimbursement account, that would put us at a 9.16% increase over what we project this year will end at. As a note, last year this time, we projected our 14-15 plan year to cost approximately $606,000. as it stands today and projecting what we believe we will spend in the months of April and May, we believe we will finish the plan year just under $523,000. So we believe, and I believe Laura put that in her memo as well, we believe that we will spend approximately 16% less than what we originally thought. But again, we try to, this is not a true actuarial science that you would have if you had a truly self-funded plan. So we have to make general, solid expectations as to what we think that partial self-funded claim expense will be. And actually, for the last, well, really going back to 2010, we've really fared very, very well. Very low, on average. We've come in. If you look at point number 5, over the last 5 plan years, the city's total medical insurance expenditure has declined on average approximately 4% per year. So the recommendation would be to maintain the same Wellmark plan that we moved to last year, which is a $3,000 single deductible, $6,000 family deductible, and to continue using Cable Business Services as our third-party administrator to pay claims when members have the right to ask the city for reimbursement.
Debbie, would you explain where it says premium increase under Blue Access 1.43% and 3 lines below that 9.16? What's the difference?
The difference is that the 9.16 takes into account what we believe we will spend in partial self-funding. And because we are running below what we had expected for this year, and then estimating what we believe we will spend next year, I mean, it is possible, total, we could spend a 9.16% increase. But the difference between the 9.16 and the 1.43 would be the claims, the claim expenditure portion. And one of these years, I'll be standing before you, and not only will it have happened, but it might very well exceed what we estimated. But that has not been the case over the last 5 years.
So this would be the difference then to the 606,000 that was projected last year. That would have been the slot that was, or the number that was in the slot for the 570 this year. Is that correct?
That's what it would have been. Yes,
Right.
that last year, the 570 would correspond to what last year we said was 606. And in fact, what we project we'll end the year at is approximately 522, 523.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Would you explain number 5 under the renewal recommendation?
Yes. Over the last 5 years, our plan has run very well, better than what we expected. So if you look at our renewal stream, if you will, in the 2011-12 plan year, we ended the year 3.14% less than in the 10-11 plan year. And in the 12-13 plan year, we ended the year 1.97% less than the prior calendar, or the prior plan year. And in the 13-14 plan year, we ended the year 5.27% less than the prior plan year. Truly less, not less than projected, but a true decrease. And in the 14-15 plan year, we believe we will end the year about 5.8% less than the 13-14 year. And in 15-16, I have to estimate what would be the normal averages that a plan that partial self-funds would spend. That's why I'm estimating 9.16, not to pad the number, just truly taking it through, the prudent practices to try to estimate what that would look like. So our average since 2010 puts us on average at a negative 4% per annum.
And what would be you have plenty of clients like us. We're clearly below most of those.
You are, I would say you're not necessarily that much below most of those. The partial self-funding model has really been such a good model. It's not abnormal to see plans run about flat
Okay, then, I guess my question would be, is any of this savings from cuts you've made to the healthcare providers themselves? Would
Well,
you attribute some of that to that or not? Or is it from us being successful in fewer claims?
I would say it's a combination of Wellmark continuing to negotiate deep discounts. I would say it has to do with the fact that the city has simply run well, and then on top of running well, you instituted a well-being program, which has become more robust over the last few years, and people are getting excited about it and taking it serious. So I'd say it's, on average, people concerned about their health, spending less than those partial self-funded claim dollars, and Wellmark continuing to do what they do well, which is to strong arm.
Okay, and that would be my question. Strong arm's a pretty good word, I think. If you are deep discounting these people, is there a danger that the local healthcare providers won't accept this, or is this already signed on to?
Won't accept Wellmark?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe there's a danger that the local health care providers won't accept Wellmark. And actually, one could argue that the discounts at United Health are, depending on the physician, the facility, the location, and everything else, one could argue that the discounts at United Health are equally as deep. Some instances a little bit deeper even, potentially.
Is that your closest competitor? Is that why you're using them, or?
Well, now, remember, I don't represent Wellmark.
Right,
But I would tell you that United, Wellmark, and Aetna, which was Coventry but is now Aetna,
okay.
those three organizations control most all of the healthcare in Iowa, and Wellmark controls 70%
Okay.
of that market. So I use those three because those three control all the market for all intents and purposes, and all of them have very deep discounts.
I oftentimes think of also just the changing, or the environment in which the staff, the people who generate the claims are going to be operating in. And I know we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but if you don't have a tremendously icy and snowy year where you have the potential for clients to slip and fall, or for, in your case, I guess clients, but our case staff to have slips and falls or possible injuries getting in and out of equipment or things of that nature, that certainly is going to drop the usage, which ultimately is going to make us look better in one given year versus another. Is that correct?
It is, and yes, that is accurate. But one of the things that we talk about every year at renewal is the averages work their ways out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not unheard of to say that we could have 5 years that run below average and 5 years that run above average. Long term, it still accomplishes the same goal, but it could artificially really get us into a mindset that, well, we're just going to see this kind of a number every year. The reality of it is we're not. I just don't know when that switch is going to flip. And like I said, I may be here next year saying, well, as we end next year, I may be saying our claims exceeded the 9.16% that we estimated.
Okay. Other questions? This is a major expenditure for us, I understand that, and so if there is any, but at the same time, I really like the way this is laid out in terms of telling us the entire plan and giving us all the information about the planned costs and stuff. So I do appreciate the way this is laid out for us.
Thank you, Laura, and I tweaked it ever so slightly this year to try to make it, we're constantly seeking something that is easy to follow, where the numbers tie together. And so we tweaked it ever so slightly this year, but that's our hope, is to make it understandable.
Is the 1.43% increase, is that fairly common to
No.
this type of?
No.
I didn't figure it was. I know mine aren't at my business.
Now, I will tell you that I have had a handful of July 1 renewals in your space, which is 51 to 100 full-time eligible employees, where they have been out of Wellmark, where they have been at or under 5%, but I would say this is very favorable,
I would too.
very favorable.
Laura, do you pay this in one lump sum, or is this monthly installments?
Monthly.
And along this way, we did have a reduction of 6 people that are no longer in this plan
Fairly accurate, yeah.
within the last couple of years.
Mhm.
So there was also, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of that if you attribute usage, or if you just attribute purely number of bodies, which would change those. Okay.
And we try to look at both the true rates of increase as well as the cash flow. Try to look at both, because
Okay.
just like you said, otherwise you can skew the numbers.
Sure. All right.
Notwithstanding the fact that we may be in a good run, or we may be in a bad run, or we may be just in an average run, I think we need to give the employees credit for being able to get on top of their health needs, and give Laura an awfully lot of credit, along with a lot of other people in the city who work the wellness program. Obviously, this makes a difference. I serve on the Iowa Municipal Worker Comp Association board, and we have been pleasantly surprised for 5 to 7 years that we've been having a decrease in the amount of claims that are made, and we have 3 people now that go around and do inspections on a regular basis that stop by and say, you ought to look at this, you ought to look at this, you ought to look at this. We work very closely with them. We haven't had a slip and fall that I can recall, other than one police officer who did walk out of the building when it was icy and fall. Otherwise, our people are attentive, and I think we need to give them some credit. Now, notwithstanding that next year we might have 3 very bad claims, or 5 very bad claims. We can't do anything about cancers, we can't do anything about hearts, those kinds of things. But the incidental things that happen, there's been pretty good control. And I think our employees deserve some credit for that. And now, we're going to have them making a 20% contribution, so we'll see if that makes a difference.
Okay. Very much noted. All right, any other questions for Debbie while she's here? All right, well, thank you for coming out. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy the drive back.
I will do that.
All right, then I need a motion to approve the attached resolution entering into a contract with Walmart for health insurance benefits with a deductible of $3,000 single, $6,000 family, and an out-of-pocket maximum of $6,350 single and $12,700 family.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Fleshner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Tate?
Yeah.
Jensen?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Our next resolution is street resurfacing 2015, and for this, I am going to open a public hearing at 5:37. And Randy.
Okay, on April 22nd, the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost for the street resurfacing 2015 project were submitted. They were prepared by JEO and Simke and Associates jointly. The plans, as you recall, in November, development of the 2015 project was approved to include 3 street segments: Court Street from 4th to 7th, and East Street from US 30 to 10th, and 10th Street from East Street to Salinger Avenue. Also, at the time, it was stated that that was a pretty optimistic length of street to get for the money that we're budgeting, but that it would be developed by segment, so that if it came to pass that either the estimate or the bids exceeded the budgeted amount of money, their street segments could be eliminated. As the project neared completion of development, it became clear, based on extensive storm sewer and patching work, that the project would far exceed the amount of money budgeted. Actually, a combination of funding in the current fiscal year and next fiscal year, there's about $905,000 budgeted for construction of the project. So in review, it was determined that we should eliminate some street segments to more closely conform to the budget. So the Court Street segment and the East Street segment were eliminated from this year's project, the 2015 project. and 10th Street continued development to now. And those plans on 10th Street include some curb and gutter replacement, storm sewer, about 1 block of water main replacement that was needed, pavement milling, hold-up patching, sidewalks, traffic control, PCC, or excuse me, asphalt resurfacing, and then the seeding and cleanup. And that is only on 10th Street from Salinger to East Street. The specifications are the SUDA specifications that we have used for several years, plus supplemental specification requirements. Form of contract is the SUDAS form of contract, which we've also used consistently over the past few years. The total estimated construction cost of the project is $1,230,606.95. That brings the total estimated project cost to $1,346,906.95, plus some hourly cost for the consultant for construction staking that we had agreed to in the consultant contract. The project was anticipated to be funded through several sources. Currently included in the budget is funding in the amount of $330,000 in GO bond, and that's the bond that you have recently been working on. Local option sales tax in current fiscal year of $75,000. Local option sales tax in next fiscal year, $425,000. Road use tax in the current fiscal year, next fiscal year, excuse me, at $100,000. Stormwater utility in the next fiscal year at $100,000. We're also proposing to expend an additional $200,000 from road use tax, that amount being the 10-cent per gallon tax increase that was recently approved by the state legislature. That would be the accumulation of that for the next 14 months. So it would be basically a year and 2 months worth of 10-cent a gallon tax increase. So we're proposing that to be put to work immediately on this project. And also, there is funding projected in the street capital improvement streets portion of the budget that exceeds the expenditure, current expenditures. And we would propose that $150,000 of that be dedicated for this project, bringing the total funding to $1,380,000. So well covering the estimated total project costs. So that's the funding proposal. Of course, the road use tax 10 cents per gallon increase and the capital improvement or capital projects street balance have not been proposed for this project in the past. All the others had been included in the next fiscal year budget recap. Okay, the project schedule is anticipated for bid receipt May 19th, for bid award May 26th, and then construction during this summer, completion in the fall of 2015. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the resolution adopting the plan specification, form of contract, and estimate costs for the resurfacing project.
Is this the least expensive of the three?
The least in segments?
Yes.
No, this is the most expensive.
This one's the most expensive.
This has all the underground work, is that right?
Yes, this has the majority of the underground storm sewer needs.
Do those kind of trump whatever else is going on over on East Street and Court Street then? So you would want this one done prior to doing any of the other two?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
I think the 10th Street, it probably is in the worst condition of the three. You know, we'd really like to get Court Street done, but because we just finished the streetscape last year, or basically finished it. But the street surface is in better condition than 10th Street.
And I'll just say, as somebody who's located right along Court Street, I've got no problem with waiting a year knowing what the size and scale of the project was. It does make sense. If you can get all the underground work done while you're doing all the underground work, then it certainly makes sense to me, so.
Well, and with it being the highest cost segment, the sooner we do it, the more we should save. I don't believe any of this is gonna get any cheaper.
No. We had an interesting meeting with all of the Carroll County mayors and council members were invited and everybody, but some really interesting estimates are coming in from throughout the county on different roads or streets and or bridge work, and it's all been quite a bit more in many cases than had been estimated. So I think what we're finding is we just don't have enough contractors for all the work, which was what some of the issue that was brought up when we were talking about raising the gas tax was. There's a significant amount of repair that needs to be done. I do appreciate the fact, though, that you also did integrate that into this. We hear a lot at the city and at the county level that it'd be good to be able to tell those stories, those good stories, that 10-cent increase, while quite a discussion at the state capitol and throughout the state among citizens, is being put to use, being put right back into projects and being able to identify those. Any other questions for Randy? Do I have any members of the public here to speak in favor or against? And any other comments from the public? Then if not, I'm going to close the public hearing at 5:46. And I need a motion to approve the resolution adopting the plans, specifications, form of contract, and estimate of cost of the street resurfacing 2015 project.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Cox?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Tate? Haley?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. Our final resolution is the Mid-American Energy Company Electric Distribution System Extension Agreement. And Randy.
Okay, as part of the water supply well project, there was a need to extend additional power to the site of the wells. And what we had planned for in the plans was to extend power to what's called well 19, the south well that's up along 3rd Street or 200th Street, whichever you want to call it. And then from there, serve back down in a private line, which would be owned by the city, to the other well, number 18, which is the north well. And that was selected for I guess the main reason it was selected was we decided to put the generator for the two wells at the well 19 site. That makes it accessible during any weather, and then feed well 18 with that generator. So it only made sense to do the same with the prime electrical power. So we'll feed one well, and then the line between the wells will be owned by the city. And it will be used either for Mid-American electric power or generator electric power. So it's kind of spendy to do that, but it's probably the most reliable of the alternatives, and that's the way the plans are prepared now and have been left now. But anyway, in order to get additional power out to the well, Mid-American Energy had to build a new line. And when they build a line for service, they require a distribution agreement, which is included in this with the memorandum. And that agreement covers their responsibilities and the city's responsibilities, the details of those. And then it includes cost to the city to build this line, $13,102.58. And then also it establishes some refund terms. So there is the opportunity to get a refund on some of this, some or all of this cost that is laid out at this time. But that won't be determined for a year after the power is begun to be used, because they take that first year's usage and take it times 3, and that's the amount, the extent, or the maximum amount of refund that can be earned. So that will still to look forward to that. But up front, there's a cost of this agreement of $13,102.58. Unless there are any questions, I'd recommend approval of the resolution approving the electric distribution system agreement.
So they run the line from 18 to 19?
No, they ran the line from wherever they needed to, which was near Highway 71 and 3rd Street. They ran it west to well 19. And then in the city's contract, there is a line running from 19 to 18.
And that's the one that the generator will be hooked up to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll supply this power of Mid-Americans and then transfer switch for generator power to.
And that generator will run both the wells, correct? Okay.
Okay.
Randy, I'm ignorant and I apologize. The $2,913.45 composite federal and state liability, what is that? I'm sorry, I just don't know what that is.
There aren't many that do. That is an income tax liability of Mid-American Energy. The city is obviously tax exempt for sales tax, but not necessarily for income tax. Now, we pay income tax on everything. Whenever you have a contract approved with a contractor, whatever income tax he pays, he's put into his bid.
Sure.
But for whatever reason, Mid-America desires to separate their income tax expense from the other expense. And that's the explanation of what that number is. And of course, I told their tax guy, why don't they just put it in one number? Utility companies are notorious that way, that any fees that they're imposed upon by state or federal governments or local governments, they'll list separately on the bill so that they don't take the heat for it from their constituents or from their users. It's just industry practice.
Thank you.
All right. There are no other questions, and I need a motion to approve the resolution approving the Mid-American Energy Company Electric Distribution System Extension Agreement for the Water Supply Wells Project.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Jensen?
Yes.
Katz?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Tate? Fleischner?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Now we will move into our only report this evening, the West Central Iowa Rural Water Association request to provide water within the 2-mile limit. And Randy.
Okay, West Central Iowa Rural Water has made a request to provide water service within the 2-mile limit. This request comes from 21575 Mahogany Avenue. And physically, that's located just south of McFarland Clinic, about a half-mile south of the clinic, which is beyond the corporate limits, but it is within West Central's current, what would be called the current service area. This proposal is for a new water service from an existing West Central water main. Your options are established by code, and they include not responding within 75 days, and at that point, West Central could provide the service. Within 75 days, notify West Central that you need more time to study the request, or waive the right to provide water service, in which case West Central would probably provide it, or reserve the right to provide water service to this location. And if that's the selected option, preparations would have to be made to provide that water service within 3 years. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend that you waive the right to provide water service, and in all practicality, West Central would provide it in that case.
I move we waive the right to provide water service.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Seaman?
Yes.
Fleischner?
Yes.
Tate?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Haley?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. I trust everyone has read the monthly activity reports. The mayor would like to wish everyone a happy May Day this Friday, and I hope you're able to get out and enjoy this wonderful weather this week. Please continue to pay close attention to our water ordinance as you plant those new lawns, shrubs, and flowers. The water ordinance primarily asks those with a house number ending in an even number to water on even number days, and those with a house number ending in odd numbers to water on odd numbered days. While our well levels are in good shape at this time, despite a relatively dry winter, we intend to keep the restrictions in place until additional wells can be brought online later this year. Good stewardship, however, of our water resources really should be observed even when we have what appears to be ample supplies, as I can assure you that the expense of bringing more online in the future will continue to escalate and pose challenges. I'd also like to take an opportunity to discuss the importance of tax increment financing for economic development and provide some background on what this means to the average citizen and the growth and progress of their community. TIF is a tool in which the city, county, and school system agree to use deferred tax dollars to help developers, mainly businesses, expand and locate. When a company is looking to build in a community, there are often expenses related to the project, such as streets, sewer, water, or other infrastructure that make their project quite expensive. There can also be factors relating to workforce recruitment, training, and other utilities that can arise. A company choosing to locate to a community is extremely beneficial to all, as they bring a crucial component, people. These people often purchase homes, fuel, groceries, and other consumables. These people enroll their students in our schools, they contribute to our churches and local fundraisers, and they utilize our hospitals and other trade businesses, providing a compounding effect on our local economy and workforce. Compounding effect, I feel, oftentimes maybe goes unmentioned. TIF does not remove the tax base of the existing property from the other taxing authorities, but rather it simply captures the taxes of any additional land value and keeps it with the taxing authority that applied for the TIF until the expansion obligations are met. When you think about it, if someone paying $500 per year for property, those taxes are split between the city, county, and schools. If a business decides to build on that land, improving that land, because there is assistance afforded to them for the investment, and the final result is that they pay $30,000 per year in taxes, all entities gain property taxes at the end of the TIF, which is typically 20 years. The unintended gains for the community are all those relating to consumption, education, and commerce. One could argue that had that property not been TIF'd, that all taxing entities would have gained money right of way by not having it in any participating program. But the other argument to that is that the business may not have expanded or located there, and you would still be left with the same $500 per year. Ultimately, the city or county are the typical users of TIF, and local elected officials have the end decision on its use. There are state laws that govern the process that must be used, including the length of time and types of projects that qualify. TIF is one of the only local economic development incentives that rural communities have. TIF can be used to assist in brownfield cleanup as well as associated slum and blight redevelopment. It is used in urban renewal plans like in Carroll as well as new developments. The county recently utilized TIF to assist with the expansion of a milling operation in our county. The city of Carroll utilized TIF to develop much of the ground for businesses on the east side of Carroll, including Ashwood Business Park. The city of Carroll has been utilizing TIF to update our central business district through urban renewal that was started in the early 70s, before my time, and has been amended up to today. Early on, it assisted in relocating businesses, paying for property, and cleanup of environmental issues. It is now greatly improving sidewalks, curbs, gutters, parking areas, and the aesthetic look of our downtown. Several businesses have located in Carroll Central Business District over these period of years, and this urban renewal area based on investments primarily made by the city and the citizens. Had these investments not been made, it is very unlikely we would have had the beautiful, thriving area that we have today, since the average individual business would not have had the capital to make those investments. The improvements of the Central Business District have made it attractive for retail businesses to locate and has improved the value of the buildings associated with it, which helps sales in the future. As the tax increment comes in each year, estimated at approximately $889,000 in fiscal 2015, the city operates under a pay-as-we-go rule and continues to invest in improvements that will keep Carroll attractive to future building development and business retention. Very soon, the city's Urban Renewal District's TIF will be used in improving the safety and traffic flow at the corner of Highway 30 and Grant Road. While there remains question of how other cities and counties in Iowa have used TIF in terms of public buildings or development infighting, I can assure you that the City of Carroll and Carroll County have been very responsible. As an elected official, I worry greatly on the legislature's decisions of any modification. As with any legislation, there are always unintended consequences, and the state legislators must be very careful and informed as to not make change to one of Western Iowa's only economic development tools based on a few bad examples in other communities. With that, this question arose from our legislative forum this last Saturday, and I wanted to make sure that I expanded on some of the many things that Carroll has used. Too oftentimes we don't have an opportunity to tell these good stories and prudent use of tools, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to do so. So thank you for listening. Any comments from council members?
What were the water levels at when we started to every other odd, even houses? What were they at?
Triggered them about 7 feet?
64.
They were
in the 70s.
Yeah, they were in the upper 70s.
Upper 70s. 79.
We started something at 64, but now we want to maintain it. I'm not sure that makes sense. I mean, it is a revenue generator when you have water. We're going to have other wells on surface. I don't know why we need to have water shortages when we prove this is pretty much staying at 58 feet. Because we've started it at 64. I mean, are we changing the level, and who has that authority to change the level, or is that something we should talk about?
We started at about 78, and now we're actually at 58. So we've got about a 20-foot gain. And yes, while I understand now we're in a really good shape, if we have any type of a dry summer and rural water and everybody else is utilizing water at high amounts in order to provide livestock and everything else, it certainly has been known to impact our aquifer level, and we don't want to put ourselves in a stressed situation going into the winter. So I think the hydrologists that you talk to as well throughout the state would suggest and recommend it. And while I appreciate the revenue that the city develops off of it, I really personally have had more of a conversation with people on a better conservative use of water, just because we've seen what's happening on the West Coast, and we don't want to put ourselves in that position. So stewardship's always important, I think.
I think people have gotten better at it, even in this town. So I'm just asking the question, if it was 64 before, why don't we just leave it at that? If it reaches 64, implement it. You can always implement it.
You're saying remove the restrictions temporarily and then put them back in place?
We started them at 64, it's well above it, it's at 58 now, it continues to grow. It's the only way to really test it, whether it's really working, and then as you add the other wells on, it'll take on that volume too.
I'm confused, was it 64 or 78 we started the restrictions at?
78.
So, you know, we seem to have a lot of water above that. I'm trying to understand why we're trying to change the protocol of that. Seems like it should reach a level, and that's when you start it.
We're not changing any protocols. We put the water restrictions on 3 years ago, and I'm just reminding everybody that those restrictions are still in place.
That's what I'm talking about, the restrictions we put in place because of a certain water level, and we're in better shape. If we were at that before all of that, we wouldn't be having this discussion, and there would be no restrictions. That's all. Just trying to understand why we would not remove.
Well, you always keep the restriction when you're 20 feet above. You know, do you just let it relax the restrictions, and if it starts getting around 78, then reinstitute it again?
That's my point, yeah.
Is that what
I
you're
think people have
getting
gotten
across?
there's more stewardship on how we use it anyway, but.
I would argue that you'll see here pretty soon when you watch your water usage, we're still spiking, like right now in the wintertime, we're using about 1 million gallons, and you can rest assured we'll be using 1.8 million here real soon as we get into the spring and the summer and planting and what have you. And what we don't want is people to reach the 2.2, which is what is usually our maximum usage. I think the other issue you run into there is public education. It takes a while for people to adopt the change, and for us to restrict or to roll back our restrictions now, only to possibly put them on in July if we have a really dry June and July and we start getting nervous about water levels. Right now, I think probably the more prudent thing to do would be to continue the course that we're on. Take a look at it following next year.
Randy, I'm going to test you here. What did we drop down to in July and August last year?
I was going to ask that same question, Eric.
Good question. I'd have to look to make sure, but during last year in July and August, we were probably nearly 70.
That's what I was thinking, right around 70, right in there.
In that range. And, you know, to add, if I can, these levels have come up and they look really attractive, obviously.
Well, they did last year too about this time. They popped up around 60.
They come up quite a bit.
62.
Now, it'll be, the tale will be told when we start getting those 1.5 million gallon days and those 1.8 million gallon days, how steady these will hold during that time. And yeah, it sure looks attractive to release the water restriction. We have been cautioned, or it's been recommended by the DNR not to release your water restrictions. And they say for 2 years. So we really have about 1 more year, and by that time, you know, we'll have more wells online, and so our situation will have changed a little bit. But we don't know how stable this 58 is. Is it going to hold up during a little bit heavier pressure use, and even at odd even days? You know, we'll probably reach those 1.5 to 1.8 days if we have a dry summer where we have consistent irrigation. Now, last year we were extremely fortunate that we had, well, in one hand, we had a wet summer because it helped the water, and it didn't do any favors for construction, but it did help our water levels a lot. Our irrigation was quite low last year compared to normal. But if we do go into a dry year without the restrictions, we don't know where it would end up.
Randy, on this sheet that you always have sitting here for us with water, is it possible to get one of these that I see for the month you have 30 data points? Is it possible to get 30 monthly data points so we could see the historical trend of that line over the last, say, 30, 36 months?
We have that information, maybe not for the whole 30 or 36 months, but we can get it as deep as we've got it.
Well, just so we could, start to see the trends. I'm not real stuck on what the point is, if it's every month or 3 months or whatever it is, just so we could see the trend of how it goes up, down across those 3 years.
Okay, we can try to work something out. Yeah, and actually trying to report those monthly would be the average for the month, and so there's some variation. But.
Well, it just gives us an idea of, we sit here and we look at it, it looks good right now. What's it look like the last couple, 3 years?
Sure.
In July, August.
Mm-hmm.
It's the trend you want to look for.
Right.
It's like stock trading, you look for the trend.
And 3 years gives us a little bit of evening out with drought years versus years where we have decent rain.
Remind us again the date that the wells are coming online,
We're projecting for the end of this calendar year.
the end of the calendar, okay.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council members? Then I need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 21.51C and 21.51J.
David, are we ready to go into closed session?
Yes.
Make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Seaman?
Yes.
Jensen?
Yes.
Fleischer?
Yes.
Tate? Haley?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.